What's going on, everyone? It's my back again, and of course, I'm here with your main man, Millsy. I listened to the podcast yesterday, and it was a very good podcast on Across the Park. Let's get straight into it, mate. What was your thoughts on Leeds?
Well, I've just been saying to you off air there, I was watching your match day vlog. It looked amazing, and I think the Leeds fans, we just said there, deserve credit, but the Evertonians was sounded so loud. And then watching the vlog from the away end on your channel, I think the Everton fans deserve so much credit, because I know there was some little rods, let's shall we say, songs that were being sung at us, and we could have really turned it around there. So first and foremost, I think that the away end was absolutely fantastic. The performance itself, I thought was really good, and some people may look at that and disagree and say, well, 70% to 30%, how can it be a good performance? I'd counter that with 13 shots, 8 on target away from home, and clearly for me the better chances to win the game. I really think Dominic Calvert-Lewin should have scored. I think there was an option there for Andros Townsend late on to maybe thread a better ball through. So I think we looked really, really dangerous on not so much the counter attack, but just getting the ball forward really, really quickly. The midfielders were having one or two touches and looking to get it forward. But for me, we can't not mention Demarai Gray. He looked great on me. He looked great to me on TV. What was it like in your way in to watch Demarai Gray on Saturday?
This is I'm very biased towards him, because obviously, he's a local lad to me, etc. I'm gonna always sing and chant for him. I remember when he was at Blues and he was a young lad, and I knew of his qualities then. And coming into this Everton side, he fits perfectly. I think he's worked on his attitude. I think that's fair to say. I don't think he's got the same chip on his shoulders that he maybe had at Leicester, and that he certainly had at Birmingham City. He seems to want to come in, learn, do well. He's got a manager in a man that I think he can trust, and you're seeing that in his freedom and his play. He's popping up on the left, he's popping up on the right, he's dropping down into the middle of the park. He's prepared to carry the ball and beat a man. And to be fair to Demarai Gray, he was doing things on Saturday that Richarlison wasn't. Which was really going at the fullback and beating him, or stepping out and beating a man, or even at one point he held the ball up and laid it back to Luca Dean. So I've been really impressed with Demarai Gray. And then on top of that, we've spent £1.5 million on him. It's nothing. He is, he's proving that, even if you sold him now, after 2 games, you could probably say, well, we want at least 10 million, and he's worth even more than that. So really, really happy with him. He's very positive runner, and I love the fact he got his first goal, and it was a good goal as well. Going past the 6'8" goalkeeper like that.
One of the worst knee slide celebrations in history. It's unbelievable. But you know what? One thing I was curious about, and I've not seen this reported or even online, so it probably means it didn't happen, but was there any sort of negative reaction for Rafa or for Moise Kean, anything like that, or was it all really positive?
I personally didn't notice anything. It certainly wasn't towards Rafa. However, the one thing I would say, there's no songs sang about Rafa. So I think that might take time. We had a chant for Carlo, we had a chant for all of our managers, but we don't have one for Rafa, or we don't appear to. It wasn't sang at Leeds. And then with Moise Kean coming on, I actually thought he should have come on earlier. When they were starting to get a foothold of the game, probably around 71, 72 minutes, I thought, there's only one winner here. And I thought that was Leeds. I was worried. I thought Moise Kean should have come on for Richarlison, because I thought Richarlison looked really tired. But he didn't do it. And he waited and waited and waited. And then he brought him on in the 88th minute, replacing Calvert-Lewin. I kind of wanted to see a bit more of him. And that's certainly not a criticism of his. It's a criticism of Rafa. I would have liked to have just seen a little bit more of him, because in my mind, and we've mentioned this a few times, to me, it doesn't look like he's going anywhere. It doesn't, there doesn't look like a club's going to come in for him. And it doesn't necessarily look like we're going to have time to find a replacement. So at this moment in time, I'd rather try and get him indoctrinated with the rest of the team, get him at least willing to play for the blue shirt for this season, but giving him 2 minutes here and there isn't going to work in that sense. What did you think about it? About him coming on for just 2 minutes? Was you happy or?
I don't think he looked happy, but that may have been just how the camera angle looked or something. When he came on, there didn't seem to be an urgency. Sometimes you see strikers and they run to their position and they G the teammates up and they say, hit my chest, hit it over me, hit my head. He didn't seem to have any of that. Now, maybe he's never had that. Maybe I'm looking too deep into it. But just the first reaction seemed to me that he didn't really, he didn't want to play. He didn't want to be on the pitch, really. And maybe that he doesn't want to play for Everton Football Club, but it seemed to me like he wasn't really happy to be there. And I did see a couple of tweets saying in the warm up he looks a bit dejected in the warm up as well. I don't know whether you were there for that, but the sprints and the shooting drills, he wasn't really, seemed to be given, let's say, 110%. But performance wise, I think he was quite unlucky when we broke that there was a ball on for him that we maybe could have threaded him through. And I tell you what, Mike, if that happens and he scores and he jumps in the away end, everything could change in that one moment. Football can do that, everything can change. I think it's unfair to really review his performance because it was such a short amount of time he was on the pitch. Maybe when we move on to tonight's game, maybe we can talk a bit more about him because I certainly think that he can start for Everton Football Club tonight because Richarlison, Zob and Calvert-Lewin, I think they need the rest tonight. Yeah,
I 100% agree, and I'm glad you've mentioned that because I think he does start tonight, and I think it makes sense for him to start. We'll talk about that in a minute. I wanted to sort of push home with some of the rumours that have been coming out of late because there's been a few. Everton apparently tried to hijack a move for Hertha Berlin striker Cunha, who played in the Olympics with Richarlison. Apparently that didn't happen, and he signed him from Atletico Madrid for 25 million. The bigger worry of some of the news that come out is apparently Real Madrid are preparing a bid for Kylian Mbappe, and apparently PSG and Neymar see Richarlison as his replacement. There could be legs in that.
I think so, and that's a worry because if they're cash rich, and it's Paris Saint-Germain who've probably got the cash rich without this deal, I don't think you can knock a deal back. I think we may be able to get what some fans perceive to be a good price out of this deal if it happens. I don't think we're going to be shortchanged. I think we'll have a strong arm in relation to how much we want. But I'll tell you what, if we lose him with hours or days left of the transfer window, that doesn't put us in a strong position to go and replace him. I don't know. I don't know who's out there, and even if we do find someone, we're going to be walking into a scenario where they're going to say it's this or nothing, and they're going to put X amount of money on top of the price. I really hope it doesn't happen. I can see him moving on to better things one day because he will be such a great player. You've seen it in flashes in a blue shirt, maybe not as consistent as we'd like, but he's only still very young. You can see he's going to be a really top player. Yep. I'm not naive enough to think he's going to be at the football club for a long time unless something happens this season where we qualify for the Champions League, bring a trophy in and have a really fantastic season, and then we can build on that. I think we're at the point now where we're very close to losing him. I just really hope it's not this window because I thought about you, Mike. I think it would really hurt us regardless of how much money we got for him.
I think it's an interesting situation and some people will shoot me down for what I'm about to say. And look, I absolutely understand why you want to shoot me down. And let me put a caveat to all of this. Richarlison is my favourite player. Fact. End of story. I love him. His work, his tenacity, his snide, his ability to, at times, pick us up and get that goal for us. We saw it against Southampton last week. Yeah. You know, he made that run into the box. But I don't think he's effective as he was 18 months ago. He didn't have a great season last season. But he was fantastic the season before. I think he got 15 goals the season before. My concern is, if we lose him, can we replace his goals? Because that's what fundamentally an attacker is in a team for, goals and creativity. And I think we can. What we can't replace is the getting back, the busting his balls to win a tackle, the carrying the ball from midfield. And that's what I'm sort of like, if we do lose him, which I don't want to, I'm not saying, I think we can replace his main asset, goals and assists. But I don't think we can replace the other bits without bringing in one or two players, very similar to what Grealish has made Villa do. They bought in three players to replace his attributes. That's what I think you'd have to do with Richarlison. And that's where I don't think 60 or 70 million is enough. I think if you only get one player, fine, it fits. You can. I think you could probably go out, whack 50 million on a top attacker player, whatever, and replace his goals and assists. But you can't replace his snide, his personality, and I don't know how you replace that.
If you go back to the Merseyside derby last year when that challenge on Thiago happened and he got sent off, if you look at that scenario that he made that challenge in, he was in our defensive position fighting for that shirt in the Merseyside derby, trying to keep Everton in the Merseyside derby. There's not many attacking players who do that, so I completely agree what you're saying. It's everything else that goes with him. In relation to the goals, I think you look at 7 goals last season and you'd say you probably could replace that. But I think a lot of those goals last season and even the previous 2 or 3 seasons are goals he makes himself. And we don't have a lot of those players in that team. I think you can look back to maybe at certain times, Gylfi Sigurdsson could create goals from long range. Maybe James Rodriguez is someone who you'd give the ball and he'd maybe create his own chance. Dominic Calvert-Lewin thrives on service. And if he doesn't get the service, we've seen last season, second half of last season, he went through a really bad goal drought where he didn't have the service, where Luka Dean was injured and James Rodriguez was injured. Then you point the question to Moise Kean. I don't know if Moise Kean is a player who can do that. So, yes, I think you could replace 7 goals. I agree with what you're saying, that you couldn't replace the other things, but I'd also like to just say that those 7 goals are goals for me that he does create out of nothing half the time. And that's a really difficult thing to have in a team. He's one of the only players in the team for me who will get the ball at Goodison and I'll move a little bit forward on my seat and I'll think something will happen. And that's invaluable to have. That's a really good ingredient for any side to have. In relation to transfer fees, if we got 60 or 70 million pound bid, I would say no. I'd say there's no way. And I'd say to him, if he was upset, I'd say to him, look, here's the scenario. They've come for you with a week left. It's going to leave us really short. We're happy to maybe look at, like we did with the Disregarding guy, a scenario in the next window where we can have a bit more time to replace him and we can scout like they scouted Gbamin from the January to the May.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a scenario where we then say you can go for 85 if you give us another 5 months. I don't know, but for me, it would take big money in this window to lose him. Big money for me would be 3 figures.
Really? So you'd want 100 million?
I wouldn't accept anything less in this window. If you asked me in June, would you take 85? It might be different. But where we are now with the Leon Bailey who's gone, with the Carrera who's going to Inter Milan, with our obvious targets that we're losing out on, Dumfries, another one, we're now down to we probably don't have a scouting list at this point. When you see rumours of Sean Longstaff and the Sheffield United kid for £5 million, I forget his name, sorry. When you see all these names being linked now and the Rangers right back Patterson, we are dwindling down the list here. So I don't think if we had anything less than 100 million to spend with a week to go, I don't think, because look at the tax that's going to be on any bid that we put in the next week. Yes, we can maybe go and try and find, a great attacker, but they're going to put 10, 15 million pounds on that. So we need to add that to any potential fee for me in this window. Which
is why I was concerned when I heard about, and I'm going back to my original point, Cunha going to Atletico, because I suspect he might have been the Richarlison replacement.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the fact that we've also missed out on Dumfries, Leon Bailey, Dwight McNeil doesn't look like he's coming, and no disrespect to Dwight McNeil, I rate him, but I don't think he's got the pace that Everton need right now. I think we need more pace in the side. I have worries, like serious worries, and this is what I mean. If Richarlison wants to leave, I understand, and if we get a decent fee for him, again, I understand. It's just the fact that we haven't got money anyway, and we almost need, in my opinion, 2 players to replace Richarlison, and one I think is easier than the other, but I'd really, really panic losing Richarlison right now.
Yeah, I don't think, Mike, I don't think the club are prepared to lose him simply because they allowed him to go to the Olympics. So I think the club are thinking that we don't need to have, because maybe if you look at the end of last season, maybe there's a conversation between either Carlo and Marcel Brands and then maybe Rafa and Marcel Brands, where you look sensibly and you say, look, we're at risk at some point of losing this guy. We're scouting some possible replacements. I think the fact they allowed him to go to the Olympics has maybe put that to the side for us. I don't think we're prepared to lose him as a club at the moment either.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go on to some of the other players that we have been linked with. Obviously, you've just mentioned Patterson. You saw Gerrard's response. Look, I'm obviously not a fan of Gerrard at all. I admire him as a football player. I think he was a very good player, but I don't like him. But that was a touch of humour. His response there was quite a funny one. I mean, he's highly rated, but I don't know much about him.
No, I tried to have a little read up, and Judgy on the podcast, he's a coach. He's got connections up in Scotland, and he had an exchange of text messages with some people, and they basically said he's really highly rated. He's a fantastic prospect. The problem is he's got their club captain in front of him in James Tavernier, who's not an easy player to drop, so his chances for them are limited. But all the signs point to he will be Scotland and Rangers right back long term. I think ideally Rangers would probably like to loan him out, but then would we be interested in some sort of loan with no obligation? I don't think so. And then you're looking at, would Steven Gerrard do Everton that sort of favour? He absolutely wouldn't. He's got I don't, disdain is the wrong word, but he's got no affection at all for Everton Football Club and their supporters. I think he said as much. And why would he? Some of the songs he was subject to during his time as Liverpool captain, he's not going to look at Everton in a favourable fashion. But I think that deal, I could see Rangers maybe looking to loan him out somewhere. I don't think it would be Everton. I think to get him would cost us more than we've probably got. The only way we would get him is if we brought money in and we could spread it around somehow, and the money then appealed to the Rangers club board maybe, where they say to Steven Gerrard, all of a sudden 12 million with another 5 million in add-ons is appealing to us as a club. We have to accept it. But Gerrard's made it perfectly clear, hasn't he, that 5 million isn't going to get it. And I don't see us going much more higher than that, because we were linked with Buta, weren't we, who for 3 or 4 million as well. So these figures are sort of, we know where we are. I think I can maybe see us looking at a loan deal for a Diego Dallo or something maybe on deadline day. I think that's where we'll end up unless we bring funds in.
Yeah, I agree. There was one other player that I was going to mention. Well, two actually. One is another young left back that Everton used to look after. Thierry Small. We've mentioned him before, but obviously, all of the clubs that were linked with him. And we were hearing in January that even, I think it was Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea. I even think I read somewhere Real Madrid, but don't hold me to that. He signed for Southampton.
It's first team football, isn't it? It's got to be first team football. That's the only reason where he's going to be really close to playing a certain amount of games in the Premier League. Yeah,
they've bought in. I think it's Pavard, or I think that's how you pronounce his name, as left back. But to me, it does look like he's going to be given real game time in the Premier League. Otherwise, this move doesn't make sense to me.
We've had a history of kids leaving us for first team football. If you go back maybe to, I'm showing me age here, 20 years ago, we lost a player called Steven Schumacher, who was highly regarded. Now, he didn't really make it in the game, but it's a player that the club tried to keep hold of, and he left. I think we've seen other players leave, young players to go and play football. And we seem to keep the wrong ones. We seem to have, and no disrespect to the likes of Matthew Pennington, who we know when he's 23 isn't going to make it, and he's still playing for us at 26 in the under-23s. And this one seems a deal like, isn't really going to benefit us. It may bring us a few pennies in to maybe help in this window, but everything I've read about him, and reading isn't everything, but everything I've read about him is that he's a really, good prospect. He's going to be a really good player. I think Carlo Ancelotti had him training with the first team an awful lot last season at Finch Farm. And if the kid wants to go and play football, I don't agree with the way he's done it. That there's rumours that he just didn't turn up and his agent has now negotiated some sort of release with the club. I don't think that's the way to do it. But at the same time, you're talking about a really young boy who's not really been an adult for very long, if at all, really. So I'd hate to see him. I'd hate to see this come back to haunt us, but I don't also see what else the club could have done. Could you guarantee him minutes? I don't think so, because what if Luca Dean doesn't get injured or suspended? Are you going to drop Luca Dean? Maybe in a Carabao Cup game like tonight, but I don't think Thierry Small is after that. Then you've got the small issue of Niels Nkunku there as well. So he was looking at third choice, and if the lad's gone to play football, then let's hope for his sake that he does get it. But I've got a feeling that this one may rear its ugly head again at some point, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's interesting, and that's why I think he's joined Southampton over the others, because breaking into those teams is going to be a real struggle. And look, every player that leaves Everton, under any circumstances, I wish the best of luck. But I have not liked how this kid has left.
I understand that, yeah.
And I don't usually, really go in on people, and I'm certainly not going to go in on the 17-year-old. But what I will say is, I think his attitude, since he put Everton, in my opinion, in a situation where he had to play, and he became the youngest ever player to come on for Everton.
Yeah.
He was given that accolade. That kid is in our history books. He's kind of shit on that, because that is a massive accolade. If you think about the youngest players to score for Everton, you've got, James Vaughan, fair enough, but just above them, you've got Wayne Rooney, you've got Francis Jeffers, you've got all of these young lads who have had decent, if not amazing, careers in football. And he was the youngest player out of any of them to make a first-team appearance. Niels Nkunku had been linked with a loan move away. He could have been our second choice left-back this season.
Yeah.
And if he would have had that loan away and not played in the under-23s, and come back to Everton, and Everton say, right, look, you are absolutely fantastic, and, heaven forbid this doesn't happen, but it could happen. Luca Dean gets an offer from, say, a PSG or a Real Madrid or someone like that, and he goes. Everton could have been in a position there to go, do you know what? We don't need left-back. We've got two fantastic young left-backs. We know they might make a mistake or two, but we want to give them game times because we think these two are gems. He's not allowed himself to be in that situation.
Maybe as well. I mean, and I hate to turn this into a show about the academy, because we could be here all day talking about that academy. But if we take our blue shirts off, and I'm sitting on for me taking my shirt off on your channel, Mike, don't worry. Just if we take our blue shirts off, I mean, look at it as neutral as we can. Is he looking at how many before him have broke into that team?
Yeah.
Or how many before him have had 3 or 4 loans on the bounce, and all of a sudden they're early 20s and they're having to forge a career in the lower leagues, because we haven't got a history of really blooding players through. You look at Anthony Gordon now, who again is being linked with another loan move, and it was only last summer Carlo Ancelotti was saying he could be important for the first team. You look at the likes of Luke Garber, who had so many loans out. Matthew Pennington had so many loans out. Kieran Dowell, another one. Callum Connolly. All these players at some point were 18 and highly rated enough to be given long-term contracts and have been told by the club, you are in our plans, we just want you to get experience. Does he look at that track record and go, this club haven't got a very good track record of putting me in the first team at 19, 20? And that's just me playing devil's advocate.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. I bang on agree. And I think it's been an issue that actually goes back even further than some of those players. I think you could throw in Luke Garber. I think you could throw in Jose Baxter. I think you can go a long, long way for Everton youngsters to have broke. I remember a player, I'm sure his name was Mark Hughes, and he was a centre-back. And I think he played one game in the Cup against Luton. I seem to remember it, 2007, 2008. I was there, young lad, 15. And I remember him making his debut, and I thought this kid was exceptional. I looked at him, slightly older than me, and I looked at him and I thought, I was playing football myself at the time, and I thought, I can do this. I can be this. And I saw the performance that kid put in, and I thought he was fantastic. He ends up going to Bury. He ends up signing on a permanent deal to Bury, and it's almost like these kids spend 10, 12 years in our academy, get really bigged up, get that contract. You know, Garbett was on 30 grand a week or something, 15 grand a week. And then their whole career just falls apart. And actually, I'd go even further. We've even seen it with first team players. Look at Mohamed Besic. I put a picture out yesterday. Mohamed Besic was in Birmingham yesterday in a school/youth centre doing a kids' football course to kids in Birmingham. And my mum sent me a picture of him, and I looked at him, and I couldn't work out who he was at first.
Yeah.
And
what was he doing there? That's such a random. Seeing that picture, I said that's probably the most random thing I've seen today.
My mum doesn't know because he wasn't particularly talkative. He just walked up with a group of people. He did this coaching session. Some of the people that he was with were speaking to my mum and said, "Your lad supports Everton, don't you?" Doesn't he? My mum said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, he used to play for Everton. He played for Everton last season. He had a shirt number and everything last season, or was registered." And I went, so mum sent me a picture, and I looked at him, and I was like, "Who's the fuck's that?" And then when I looked at pictures of him from, the Samuel Eto'o days where he played in that shirt with the collar and he made that mistake and he made his debut against Porto, I looked at him and went, "Oh my God, it's Mo Besic."
Only Everton could buy someone in 2014 who was a Bosnian international who man-marked Lionel Messi in the World Cup, and 7 years later he's coaching kids in a school. Only Everton could do that. The most Everton thing ever.
It's mad. It's absolutely mad. And this is, I don't know whether he's going to have a move to a Birmingham club. It wouldn't surprise me if he signed for someone like Coventry or Birmingham, for example. But I found it very interesting that he was there. So I don't know. Let's get on to tonight's game. Obviously, we play a Huddersfield side that I think are 8th in their league. They've got 7 points. They've just won 2 on the bounce.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very different Everton side, albeit Carlo said he's going to put out a really strong team. I'm slightly surprised at that because I would have let a few of the lads have a bit of a rest, actually.
I think he's got to find a balance, Rafa, of having a shop window night to night. Because
that's it.
Make no mistake about it. It's important for us, even going into next summer, now that we move some players on, because we don't want to be sitting with... I mean, and go back to Mohamed Besic and Yannick Bolasie. How much did they hate us being on the wage books last season, going into this season? So I think it's very important that we do shift players on. Rafa has got to be very, very clever here, because no matter how well we've started and no matter how well a lot of fans have taken to Rafa already, he's not silly enough to not know that going out the cup to Huddersfield can bring the first card in that pyramid down. And there's a lot of media outlets out there who, I've said on the channel before, Mike, who are waiting for Evertonians this season to be the pantomime villains so they can plaster it all over their social media, and it causes chaos.
Yeah,
he's got to balance that tonight with a strong enough side, and also he's got to put a couple of players in the shop window. I wouldn't be surprised to see John Joe Kenny, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Moise Keane, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see either Lewin or Richarlison on the bench with Seamus Coleman, just in case we get to maybe 65, 70 minutes and it's 0-0. And then he could bring some first-team players on. I don't think he'll change too much. I think you maybe see Gbamin as well. I think the Evertonians travelling would like to see Gbamin. I don't know if Ben Godfrey or James Rodriguez are available. There's been no news as of yet. I know Rafa said last week that they could come back in next week after isolation. If James Rodriguez is fit, not that he needs a shop window, but maybe he needs a shop window to show that he's fit. Maybe there's a number of teams, clubs out there who are looking at last season where he didn't end the season in the shirt.
Yeah.
An international side, Colombia came out and said he wasn't fit enough to play for them in the Copa America. Maybe the fact to get him on TV tonight and some American channels and would shop window James Rodriguez to an extent. It's going to be interesting for me because I don't think he's going to go first team 11, i.e. Southampton, Leeds.
Yeah.
I also think he can't risk going out the cup tonight because what that will do. And especially if you follow up that by not beating Brighton, you've got a 2-week wait then where everything's going to look back on the past 2 games. We're going to reflect on this channel of what we've just seen. It's going to take longer to fester that Everton have got up the cup in a second round to a low league opposition. He's got to balance that. But for me, I don't know, other than a couple of tweaks, what he can do. What do you think? So
I give a team yesterday my preview, and actually sitting back and looking at my team, I actually completely disagree with it now. I think the team will be Asmir Begovic in goal, Nielsen Cunha at left back. I think centre back pairing. If Godfrey's back, I think Godfrey plays. If not, I think it's Holgate and Mina for me. Keane's played 2 games. There's no reason why Mina can't play 2 games, and equally Holgate. They should be good enough to beat Huddersfield. I think John Joe Kenny plays at right back. I think Gabarmin plays. I think Tom Davies plays. And I could possibly see Andre Gomez playing. Again, if he's back. There's been a lot of pictures of Tom Davies. And there was rumours that he was one of the ones isolating. Yet there's tons of pictures with him, with fans walking around, doing things. So he can't be isolating.
No.
Then I think your forward 3 will be Andros Townsend.
Yeah.
Moyes Keane. And I think it could be Anthony Gordon.
That's wholesale changes. That's an almost different team apart from 1 or 2 there.
Exactly. And I sit there and I know it won't be that team, but I still think that team should be good enough to beat Huddersfield.
Huddersfield didn't start well. I know they've won the last 2, but they played Derby, who've got half a side. And they didn't start well. I don't think they're a very good championship team. I wouldn't go as far as that many changes for me. I don't see a reason. And I understand anyone who would. I don't see a reason for resting the goalkeeper. I think there's a number of times over the years that we've regretted that. And we've said, why the hell have we played a Joe Robles or a Stecklenburg or a Vessels? Why have we done that? Because the goalkeepers.
Bloody hell, Vessels. Jesus.
Vessels with the long hair, yeah. German playboy.
Jesus, do you remember him? Fucking hell!
I think he played in a cup game. I'm sure he played in a cup game, and we went out, and it was a Carabao Cup game. I'm pretty sure of it. Maybe it was European.
You're right, yeah.
I know Stecklenburg came in. He played Atalanta, if you remember, in 2017, and we lost 3-0. And you're like, why the hell have you just done that? Why have you done that? Joe Robles has came in for Tim Howard on cup games under Roberto Martinez. And had bad performances. I just wouldn't do it. I really wouldn't. I think Jordan Pickford would benefit from just playing a number of games now.
Yeah.
I think he'd play. Niels the Kunku, I don't know, because we've not seen him at all. He doesn't seem to be even part of the squad. And when you don't see players even on the bench, I think if you play a League 2 side, I think you could maybe play in Kunku. I don't think he will. In the championship side, sorry. Ben Godfrey, yes, needs minutes. He absolutely needs minutes. And it's whether you then pull Yerry Mina out and say, we know historically playing you so much does result in injuries, so we're gonna play Mason Holgate, or we're gonna stick with Michael Keane for this game.
No, we're not. We can't do that. We can't do that.
With the sole intention that we're not going to do it anymore, that we're just, Yerry Mina and Ben Godfrey are going to be. In that case, maybe a Holgate and Godfrey, but I think at that point you are missing a little bit of, for all Michael Keane's faults, for set pieces and things, he's okay at defensive corners. It's when he's higher up the pitch. Right back, yes, John Joe Kenny. Andros Townsend will play because he didn't play on Saturday. Gabarmin, maybe one of Davis, maybe one of Gomez. I still think he'd play Abdoulaye Doucouré. I think Doucouré's found a really good bit of form, a bit of a new lease of life, if you will, getting forward. I can see Doucouré still playing with the intent to maybe bring him off if we could at some point. Moise Keane, and then maybe he would still stick with Damari Gray. I think it's going to be a mix.
Fair enough. I think it's going to be an interesting game, and I think it's a game that Everton should win. What's your score prediction, Melzer?
I will go very, very confident tonight that we're going to go there, really professional, score a goal in either half, 2-0.
Yeah, agreed. My score prediction is 2-0 as well, but I suspect I suspect if we let one in, I think the cushion will always be 2 or 3 goals. I don't see us losing this game. I was going to ask you one last thing, but it's completely fucking slipped out my mind. I can't remember. You got anything to ask?
Put on my toes there, Michael, haven't you?
I know, mate. Sorry. It's just
okay. So we spoke last week about transfer window. I know we'll probably do a show next week around the transfer window again. And lots of rumours. So Fabrizio Romano, a really reliable journalist, is saying that he expects Everton to be busy. Do you expect us to be busy in the next week?
You've definitely put it on me there. You got to remember, Al Bobble's a friend of mine, ain't you? You got to remember that.
Top lads, yeah. Bad news, Bobble.
Oh dear.
Not that we want anyone to give away any information. If you just look at it and say, look, I can see the variables here. Does it just take one domino to fall? That domino being incoming money, and then we're active, or do you see it being a bit more slow than that?
I think. I know we're going to be busy next week. Okay. We're going to be busy next week, and there's various reasons for it. You know, look, 2 of our, I'm not going to say our biggest earners, but players who have got a financial liquid amount of cash, you know, can be fluid, don't want to be at our football club, and that's Moise Kean and James Rodriguez.
Yeah,
Everton don't want to keep them, so if an offer comes in, albeit even an under par offer, I think Everton would accept it.
Do you think if a low ball offer came in for a Moise Kean, they'd accept it? Really?
I think if 25 million come in for Moise Kean, I think Everton would probably take it.
What about an offer in the teens? Would they take that? Do you think if someone came in at £17.5 million, take it or leave it?
I think that's
are we that pushed?
Nah, I think that's too light. I think that's too light. I think 25 is probably the bare minimum. Then you've got James Rodriguez. To be honest, I think if we get any financial amount of money for him, I think that would be a success because we got him on a free. There's different rumours about his wages. I certainly don't think he's on 200 grand a week, but I certainly don't think he's on 90 either. I think he's heavily incentivised, and I think I just think you'd probably get 5 or 10 million for him. And again, it's money in. I think there'll be a little bit of a deal with Southampton at around 3.5 million for Thierry Small. I don't think it'll be 5 or 6 like the Tribunal said, and I don't think it's going to be as low as 1.5 million. So I think there's that. Then you've also got this worry about PSG and Richarlison, which has to be, in my mind, and I agree with your very, very, very minimum number of about 85. I think it would be very dangerous for Everton to sell him for any less. And then, of course, there is a few other players that are at the club that could be moving on as well, i.e. a John Joe Kenny. I do think one of our centre-backs will leave. There's a lot of players who are in the shop window, and I'm hoping that there's a lot of those players going to be leaving in the next week. Gomez, Kenny, Moise Kean, James Rodriguez. There's 4 just off the top of my head. But we do need replacements. So I think we'll be ready to go on a few of these deals. And the one that sort of strikes me this morning was McKenna from Juventus. I could see Moise Kean. I could see Moise Kean and him being a swap deal.
And again, that leaves us light. So it's all good saying that we could stock up at a certain position with good players if we're losing players in other areas. If, for instance, someone comes in next week with a really good number for Yerry Mina, I can see the club accepting it. But for me, that then leaves us a little bit weaker. So whereas, yes, it can be a flash sale. We'll have a car boot sale here with our best assets at the front. Our worst assets at the front and our best players that you don't want at the back. Yep. The problem being if someone goes to the back and we can't replace that, it could go either way for me. And the reason I ask it to you is, do you think we'll be busy? Because I think if we're really busy, then we're at risk. If we lose 4 and bring in 4, I don't know whether we're strong or not. I think I'd rather us just lose 1 or 2 and bring in 1 or 2, opposed to be really, really busy.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Because I think it has a detrimental effect on the structure that we've got, and we've got a good
Yeah.
structure. One of the things I'll praise Rafa for is the structure that he seems to put in place. Every single player knows their jobs, and I certainly can't say that under Carlo Ancelotti manager. So I agree. What about if Everton lost someone like Michael Keane or Mason Holgate and brought in Kurt Zuma?
All day. Absolutely. If you could somehow maybe, I know Brighton were rumoured to be looking at Mason Holgate. If you could bring in an amount for Mason Holgate and spend that same amount on Kurt Zuma, fantastic. I'm not silly enough to think you could do it for Michael Keane, but that would be the dream for me. Because if you're going to lose Holgate or Keane, I would rather lose Keane simply because Holgate is more versatile. If we need someone to step into midfield because we're really short for one game, Mason Holgate could do that. If we need someone to play in a back three, the right of a back three, because we're short, Mason Holgate can do that. Michael Keane can't do either of those things. The perfect one for me, and this sounds strange because whenever in the community done an event with him, I was first there doing the Hugathon. I was a massive fan of him. I think you've got to move Andre Gomez on. I think the longer he's at the football club, the more his value decreases. And I don't think he's effective in either end of the pitch for us. I think he looked really good when he first came because he had a number 10 who was in good form in front of him. He had a number 6 behind him. He was mopping up everything with a pulse. And his job was just to maybe retain the ball, retain possession in a system the manager at the time wants us to retain possession and break teams down. As soon as that manager went, being Marco Silva, he's looked lost even under Duncan Ferguson I think minutes under Ferguson it was Carlo, wasn't it?
No.
He hasn't looked effective at all. I think he came back from his injury at Arsenal and had a good 30 minutes. And apart from that, there's nothing there. So for me, a dream scenario, which I'm not silly enough to envision happening, but a dream for me would be to get rid of Michael Keane, to get rid of Andre Gomez, and then walk into the window next week with 50 or 60 million pounds and be able to bring a right back in and bring another match winner in for Everton Football Club.
Yeah, fair enough. I can't argue with any of that. We will see. It's what is it? 8 days until the window shuts. 7 days.
8 days. Yeah. What are you doing for deadline day? Are you doing a live stream or what's the
Blue
Boyz Network plans?
No, we did a live stream last year and we had loads of guests on and it was really good. But look, to be brutally honest, there's lots of fantastic Everton channels, and I think when we all do streams together, we all actually have a detrimental effect on each other's, streams, numbers. And I know select people watch certain people, etc. But I equally don't want it that we're all streaming at the same time because you've got to. There's got to be a little bit of fairness when everyone's trying to fit in streams for people. We've got to support each other, in my opinion. So if I don't do one, hopefully one of the other channels can, Toffee Blues, Toffee TV, one of those guys, do a live stream, do it all game, do it all window, and hopefully we have a good one and it's entertaining. But I potentially might be doing a watch along tonight.
I'll tune in for that one.
For the Huddersfield, I haven't quite decided. Again, Kieran Rance does some fantastic watch-alongs, and I don't really want to step on his toes. But I am the creator of the Everton watch-along, so
don't sell yourself short, Michael. Don't sell yourself short. You're the entrepreneur of Everton watch-alongs. Don't let no one stand on your toes.
Nah, but so we'll see. But yeah, apart from that, we are where we are. I haven't really got any plans. Obviously, there'll be a daily video. They've been 10, 15 minutes. I did a match day vlog.
They've been great, honestly. I meant to say to you off air, but I've got no shame in telling you on air now. Your channel's amazing lately, flying. I've always been a subscriber. I've always been a fan, but you seem to be busier than ever, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah, we're lucky actually. We've got Kane doing our social media now on Twitter and Instagram, and he put a post up 12 o'clock last night. It's ready to go. He's got it set up and he's got Gabarmin in the away shirt. And,
boss.
I've needed that help. So, yeah, really glad to get Kane on board. And obviously yourself, we have our video once a week. Rose as well, and the two lads from Sweet and Sour. Going to be doing a bit more with Callum. But yeah, look, that's it, guys. I think, again, 20 minutes I wanted this stream to last and we've done 45. Me and you, Millsy, we just have this relationship where I genuinely, mate, and I mean it, I could sit in a pub talking to you for hours, my friend. I really, really fucking could. Love you.
Don't tempt
Absolutely
me.
love
Don't
you.
tempt me. I could be at yours in 90 minutes. Don't tempt me, my friends.
Oh, mate, I'll do it quicker. I'll stick my boot down 100 miles an hour up the M6. Here we come.
Next time we have a Goodison, give me a ring. We'll have to meet up for a few pints, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Right, well, guys, look, I'm going to leave it there. Have a fantastic Tuesday. I keep thinking it's Monday still. It's horrendous, honestly. My head is up my arse. But yeah, enjoy. We've got this coming out at lunchtime. So yeah, enjoy. Peace.